welcome to the Garcia Blending family. My name is Amanda. So today I'm going to show you a new recipe, but I got some emails just, kind of asking, I haven't posted. I'm usually an every other day poster. I like to give some kind of video on YouTube. My entire family, so I work in the medical profession. I am a nurse. My husband's considered an essential worker. We had been off, or I had been off for a couple months, and just because people weren't really going to the hospital, people were staying home. Census, which is how many people you see, was really down. So for about 2 months, I didn't even work. Going back to work, I had caught COVID and gave it not only to my husband, but my 11-month-old, and all 4 other children also tested positive. So we were quarantined. We were just miserable. So I just want to encourage everybody, if you have symptoms, go get tested. There's so many different places that you can go. Some are quicker than others, but just make sure, there's a lot of different symptoms. It's just not fever. It's just not shortness of breath. It could be GI symptoms. Just, if I could caution anybody, just make sure you get tested and follow up. If you're getting fevers, make sure you're on those kids to make sure that you're dealing with the fevers. And as a mom and, oh, my dogs are going crazy. As a mom and a healthcare worker, there was a lot of guilt and there was a lot of blame, knowing that you take care of people that are sick, and that's what you feel like God's called you to do, and then the opposite side of then knowing you could bring something home to your family. And I do have an immunocompromised sister. I had an 11-month, I have an 11-month-old who's doing, we're all doing fantastic. It's been about 2.5 weeks, or 2.5 weeks almost. But it's just a very guilty feeling to know that, you could potentially get a lot of people sick, even in your home life. Because my calling is not everybody else's calling. So just the reality of that, especially in the ER, we just kind of run into situations and we don't always know what we're gonna get, what we're gonna be exposed to. So you just try to be careful and follow standard protocols and techniques, but just, watch your kids, watch those fevers, watch their diet, watch their fluids, and if you think your kid has something, definitely seek out, seek out their doctor. Go to a clinic, do what you've got to do to take care of you and your family, and social distancing. I know there's like a 50-50 split. Some people believe that masks are worthless. The other half believe it's, has to be done. You see a lot of things on social media and Facebook about, people going to the extremes on everything. And you have to remember too that with COVID, you can't really compare it to the flu. You have to be informed, and it's not, masks aren't just worn to stop the COVID. We know it's smaller than a mask, but there's other reasons, and you just really need to do your research. I don't want to tell you one thing to do or another, but just making sure that you're protecting you and your family, because it's really easy for me when I wasn't working and I just didn't talk about it, because I'm like, ugh, if I'm not working, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to know about it. It's not that I didn't care. I just needed an emotional break from it. Like if I don't have to deal with it every single day, then just don't tell me. I just don't want to know. And so you kind of put yourself in a bubble. Then you have the other spectrum where people want to know every single little thing, to the point of you drive yourself insane. So when we tested positive, then I had to know everything. And then, it eats away at you. So you have to have a healthy respect for a virus, and you have to, especially when we don't know how it works exactly. And there's many theories and there's many assumptions made, and I think being tolerant to CDC and different things, because you just never know like what's gonna change. Viruses change. So just protect yourself and your family, because you know, I kind of was like out of sight, out of mind. And you do get to a point when you're isolated or you're social distancing. Before we got it, there was this, why are we home? Like, you almost become desensitized to it. Like, you don't know the reality of what people go through when they have it, because you've removed yourself. When you're home and you're not watching it and you're not reading about it, you're really easily removed from that situation and the reality of that situation. So when I went back and I heard stories of people that have had it, I'm just like, oh my gosh. Then this fear set in, and then getting it, then the guilt set in. So if I could tell you anything about it, I've seen all kinds of symptoms. I've seen all kinds of different things in my own family. When I say symptoms and stuff, I'm talking about my family. We had every range from shortness of breath to fevers to GI symptoms to chest pain to everything. And it can be very terrifying, especially when you're sick and you're trying to make sure everybody else is good. So there was exhaustion. It was exhausting. And I just pray any of you guys have it. Just definitely any kind of symptoms, if you're going through it, just make sure you're drinking your fluids, taking care of your temperature, and definitely if you have any concerns, please seek medical attention, because my 11-month-old went from being perfectly fine, eating fine, drinking fine, to nothing for a day. And I ended up having to take him to an ER. I couldn't get him to eat. I couldn't get him to drink. I couldn't get him to nurse. And I couldn't break his fever. And I'm a nurse, and I was having a difficult time. So, you know, it's not just treating them off the container. Like, this is how much Tylenol you give a 12-month-old. You know, you really need to consult your doctor and find out exactly how much you should be giving based on how much he weighs. Because one thing we noticed is we were giving max doses of everything to the baby and to my husband, and it's still taking an hour and a half, 2 hours to get that fever to break. So it was very scary, and especially with the baby. But you know, kids go down fast and they rebound fast. So, you know, there was probably an overwhelming sense of fear and guilt. But we're glad to be on the other side of it. You know, we're already back to work. We're already hustling again. So we've already bleached our house. So wash your hands, wear your mask. You don't want to wear your mask? Okay, you know, do you. But we will wear our mask, and you know, you don't want to be the person that gets that other person sick for whatever reason. It's not that big of a deal to wear a mask. Kids are doing great. Parents are doing great. Survived the COVID, working, back to meal prep. So we all eat a lot less now though too. I've noticed that through your appetite for so long, when you can't taste anything, you're like, I don't want to eat. So now we're all like, what's a couple pounds doing it? So I do not have makeup on. One thing you will learn about me is I am not going to, I do have mascara on. I'm not going to get all fancy if I'm home, but I love to talk with you guys and share. We will have our kids now for 2 weeks, because when we got sick, we weren't sure if we had exposed 3 of the children. So we isolated from 3 children, and then they tested positive, so it really didn't matter. So now we have them for 2 weeks. So now I'm like, ooh, okay, so here we go. I have a grocery haul, and we are doing kind of like a pantry challenge. We're gonna see how far we can go. Guys, so we're going through our fruits and vegetables. I knew that was gonna happen. But the other side of it was, I was like, oh God, this pantry and these freezers are just like bursting. And I still feel like my pantry's bursting. So I'm hoping we can get 2 months, maybe 3, we'll see. So I'm gonna do a meals of the week video every week, and like just kind of show you like what our pantries are looking like, what our fridge is. You know, our fridge, I'm trying to work through condiments and stuff too. Like, you know, you get those things like bruschetta and you want to make this fancy recipe and then you never use it again and it's sitting in your fridge. I don't want to take enough room. I want to get rid of it. So that's what we're kind of using and getting rid of. So we're using some of the sides, we're using our vegetables, and then it's the processed stuff. We really want to go more towards whole fruits and vegetables and meat. Not that we won't buy stuff, because we have teenagers, we have kids, you know, ourselves. Like sometimes you just want some ice cream and just eat it. Like it's really not the end of the world if you eat it. But we are trying to make 95% of our choices be more positive and better just for our bodies, because when you eat better, you feel better. So I'm gonna do a recipe. We are going to try this. We're gonna try to make like we have all these pork chops from our pig. I'm all over the place today, just keep up. I'll get there eventually. But we have pork chops from our pig, which we have not tried yet. And the thing is they are not, one thing I've learned with this pig is it has not got all these nitrates and all this fillers and everything. So it is a pure taste. So we are seasoning more. We've always been big seasoning people, not seasoning as far as salt. I like different seasonings. We make our own taco sauce. I adjust it based on our family. So when I put stuff in recipes, I don't really measure it. Now baking I measure, but when I'm just doing stuff like this, it just depends, because your family might like saltier food. My family doesn't. They would rather have more of a spice to it. So I would rather put more seasonings in that aren't necessarily gonna raise our blood pressure or make us retain water, and you know, not have to need as much salt. And let me show you what I'm doing. So what we did is, this is about like a gallon. I just put some pork rinds in there, and these are just, I'm gonna put my hands in this. I just mushed them with like a mallet. There's a little bit of like, I would say 2 ounces of like a cheese in there, any kind of like Fiesta blend or Parm cheese. But I don't like sandy, you know, that really fine breading. So what we did is we just busted it with a mallet. But if you want it finer, you can put it like in a food processor or a Ninja. And then we're just gonna add our seasonings. Now I'm not adding salt to this. We don't like a ton of salt, but then this is already salted because they're pork rinds. So I buy my, either from Sam's or what's that other place we go? Costco. So we got some garlic. It has to be some onion. I bought a bigger one of this. This is a little bit of oregano, so I can be done with that container. A little bit of basil. Oh, I got 2. So we like some thyme and some rosemary. Now, I mean, it can seem like a lot of spices, but if you have like an Italian seasoning, obviously you wouldn't have as many of those. There's a little bit of paprika. And if your family doesn't like something, you don't have to put it in. This is just a little parsley. You don't have to put it in. There's nothing that says you have to use that. This is a little cayenne. We like a little spice. And then a little red pepper. I don't really think red pepper is spicy. I mean, I think some people think it is. So we're just gonna mix this up, because this is gonna be our seasoning. So if you don't like seasoning, or you think I can't put spices together, just get some Cajun. If you like Cajun, you can dump about a tablespoon of Cajun seasoning in here and call it a day. So, or lemon pepper. You can do anything pre-made and just add it to the breadcrumbs. You don't have to do it separate. We do it just because we use so many spices that we buy everything in bulk. And I don't need 10 other mixes. We do have a couple, but for the most part, we'll mix our own blends together. So this is gonna be our little filling. So see, ooh, it's got a nice little red color. So it's a bigger crumb, but we're gonna bake ours. I know some people, you could air fry it. We're not going to do that just because I don't like my air fryer. I need a new air fryer. So let me get some eggs. Now we're gonna make a bigger wash. We have more of a family, like a bigger size family. So what we're gonna do is you're going to we are going to beat up these eggs. We're gonna need more than one. Now, if you're only doing like 4 or 5 pork chops, then you could easily do 1 egg, and we actually might need 2. So I think we're gonna do like 8 or 9. Because with everybody being home, my kids are great with eating leftovers. They never disappoint me with the leftovers. My husband eats leftovers. If your husband or kids don't eat leftovers, then that would stress me out, because it's really hard to know how much everybody's gonna wanna eat all the time. Okay, we're gonna add some milk to this, about 1/2 cup. Just a little. Now, I did not put pepper in my mix because I like to put it in my eggs. And you see, if you are salty, I'm just gonna put a sprinkle of pepper. If you are a salty kind of person, you could season this too, but I think with salt. But I think for us, we are not the kind of people that want a ton of salt, but we do like a tang. So I'm gonna put like 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, if I said that right, and a little hot sauce, because again, this is going over 8 pork chops. All right, we're gonna put a little hot sauce. If you like hot, you can put a little. If you do not like hot, you don't have to. It's not coming out. Oh, there. We go through a lot of hot sauces, and we have different brands. This is just Cholula. And Worcestershire. I mean, you're not putting a ton. I know it turned a little brown from the Worcestershire. You can do a shallow baking dish. Okay, so for this one, I put a little bit of masa in there. We're gonna just play around, because you know that you never know what you're gonna like. I'm gonna put some pepper in this. Which masa is corn. We're gonna put a little bit of seasoning in here as just a different flavor. Probably didn't need to make this much for the last one, and see if we like it. See, we'll all like take a bite out of this one and make sure we like it. Maybe I'll do 2 out of that. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna dredge this, and my doorbell just rang. You don't care if they kiss a little. But we are gonna bake that one up, and we're gonna bake these at 425 for about 12 to 15 minutes till they reach about 160 degrees. We don't want them overcooked. People tend to overcook pork. So there's a pork website that you can go to and just get your temperatures, get a thermometer, and then you don't have to always eat dried pork. So we're gonna put these on 425 in the oven, and we'll show you what they look like when they come out. So this is how the pork chops turned out. We cooked these for 15 minutes to get them to reach 160 degrees. So they turned out wonderful. They have a little bit of spice. They good?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. This one creates a little appetite. So everybody enjoying dinner. So thanks for having to cook with me. Again, these are keto pork chops. Not the stuffing keto though.